Hey, this is Dawn Compton, the pastor at Main Street United Methodist Church, and I'm here today to bring you a special Wednesday word. One of the things that I love about Bedford is our understanding of our history, our respect of our ancestors and those that have gone before us and paved the way for us to live in this community now. And I think there's some special stuff getting ready to happen. Sue, can you tell us about some of the stuff?
Yeah, on June 6th, we will be celebrating the 80th anniversary of D-Day, where 4,415 men died and gave up their lives so that we could have freedom. 19 of those boys were in the first wave, were the Bedford boys who passed away. At the D-Day Memorial, they're going to have a big celebration at 11 o'clock on June 6th to honor D-Day. In the evening on the 7th and 8th, they're going to have a light and sound show honoring D-Day. So you have to have tickets for the last two things. I hope you can come. It's very important that we celebrate our past.
Do you want us to tell us a little bit more about the history of what happened with D-Day?
Yes, Dawn. After training in the United States at Fort Meade, Maryland, Fort A.P. Hill, Virginia, and Fort Bragg, North Carolina, for various periods of time that spanned over a year and a half, the Bedford boys from Company A of the 116th Regiment, 29th Division, headed to England aboard the Queen Mary. General Rommel is seen here inspecting the Teller mines, anti-tank mines attached to telephone poles that were on the beaches from Norway to southern France. Here is a picture of the Queen Mary that the Bedford boys sailed on from New York City to Glasgow, Scotland. On the way, they accidentally split an escort ship in half and had to leave the men in the water behind because of the danger of German U-boats. The Bedford boys at Ivy Bridge, England, where they did the majority of their training, much of it in the cold, wet moors. 946 Allied servicemen died the night of April the 27th, 1944, off the coast of Slapton Sands, England, during Exercise Tiger, the rehearsal for D-Day. The Bedford boys participated in this exercise on another day and came away unscathed. But on April 27th, soldiers were killed by friendly fire and U-boats getting in between the exercise. This was kept secret to keep morale up. This is where the Bedford boys' Quonset huts were located near Ivy Bridge. The height of each board on the memorial bench indicates the length of each of the Bedford boys' lives. Quite a moving place to visit. The Bedford boys are marching as they leave Ivy Bridge, England, to go to war. These are the landing beaches for Operation Overlord. The British landed on Sword, the Canadians on Juno, the British on Gold, the U.S. landed on Omaha and Utah. The American beaches were named after a city, Omaha, and state, Utah, after two soldiers were asked where they were from. The British and Canadian beaches were named after fish, but Churchill said they were not going to name a beach Jellyfish, so it got changed to Juno. This is a picture of the first wave heading toward the shore at 6:30 a.m. on June 6, 1944. The Bedford boys led the charge. It was the first time in history that the National Guard led the United States into battle. There is a gap between cliffs that the Americans wanted to capture called the Vierville Draw to help move tanks inland. The Germans heavily defended this part of the beach, thus the name Bloody Omaha. They did not want the Allies to gain easy access. Notice the 200 to 300 yards that the men had to run toward the guns with no cover. Many drowned with their heavy packs or got shot down on the beach. This is Omaha Beach, men helping their comrades. The tide was coming in, so they had to get the men to safety behind the shale wall. Omaha Beach, Vierville-sur-Mer, Dog Green Sector, where the Bedford boys landed. 19 of the Bedford boys died in the first 9 minutes. Bedford lost the most per capita of any city in the United States on D-Day. 4,415 Allied men died on D-Day. These are the craters that were left at Pointe du Hoc from the Allied bombing mission trying to take out the German guns. The Allies did not hit one gun or one German. The guns had been removed before D-Day. 225 Rutter's Rangers climbed Pointe du Hoc using grappling hooks and ladders. They scaled this cliff at dawn on D-Day. They suffered a 75% casualty rate in the first 2 days. Look at the thickness of the bunker. The concrete steps down at each level to make it extremely difficult for a bomb to hit the gun. Utah Beach, where General Teddy Roosevelt Jr., age 56, landed off course. He was one of the first men down the ramp and said, "The war starts here." Roosevelt was one of 2 generals that landed on D-Day. He died of a heart attack 4.5 weeks later. He was so proud to serve his country. The American Cemetery at Colleville-sur-Mer in Normandy, France. The 19 Bedford boys. After the war, the families of the Bedford boys had a choice to leave their loved one in Normandy or bring them home. Leslie Abbott, Oakwood Cemetery, Bedford. Wallace Carter, Greenwood Cemetery, Bedford. John Clifton, Greenwood Cemetery, Bedford. Frank Draper, Greenwood Cemetery, Bedford. Captain Taylor Fellers, Greenwood Cemetery, Bedford. Nick Gillespie, Normandy. Bedford Hoback, Normandy. Raymond Hoback, Wall of the Missing, Normandy. Clifton Lee, Normandy. Earl Parker, Wall of the Missing, Normandy. Jack Powers, Normandy. Weldon Rozaza, Normandy. John Reynolds, Greenwood Cemetery, Bedford. John Skank, Normandy. Ray Stevens, Greenwood Cemetery, Bedford. John Wilkes, Greenwood Cemetery, Bedford. Gordon White, Forest Baptist Church, Forest. Elmer Wright, Normandy. Grant Yopp, Normandy. Bedford, the town that they left behind. Soldiers on Omaha Beach, paying tribute.